The role of government and citizens in saving the environment needless to be added in any manner. It plays a significant role. The Constitution of India had carved out as to how it should be done, and thereafter, various judicial pronouncements, especially by the Honorable Supreme Court, led into path-breaking ways wherein it could be seen that the balance as to how the government as well as citizens can help in the environmental protection. The name of Mr. M.C. Mehta, whenever we talk of environment, immediately comes in our mind. And similarly, the role of the members of the National Green Tribunals also rings in our mind, that how they have been saviors in saving the environment. And amongst them, we can also easily say that Justice Ramakrishnan, a former judge of Kerala High Court, has played a significant role while donning the seat as a judge of the Kerala High Court and thereafter as a member of the National Green Tribunal. Without making much time, I request Sir to share his insights. Over to you, sir.
Yes, sir. Good evening, everyone. I took this topic, the role of government and people in protection of environment, because of the fact that everybody nowadays know that we are talking about global warming, climate change, and a lot of conventions are being held by the United Nations on climate change as well as by the Conference of Parties of Climate Change in order to meet these aspects. As you are aware that environment plays a great role in protecting Mother Earth, vis-a-vis helps the people also to earn their livelihood. And you are also well aware of the fact that in olden days, people were respecting environment and they were worshipping environment as gods as well. They know very well that any environment into the environmental issues is likely to cause calamities, which in turn will affect not only their life, but also their day-to-day activities as well. And thereby, they were very careful in handling the environment, and also they were very careful in using the environment for their purposes as well. As you are aware, the definition of environment includes water, air, land, and interrelationship which exists among and between water, air, and land and human beings, other living creatures, plants, microorganisms, and property. And what is the reason for the global warming? Because people were interchanging the global warming and climate change as under the misconception that it is the same one. But in fact, it is different. Because the global warming means the gradual increase in the average temperature of the planet over a long period. So slowly there will be changes in the climate unless you maintain an equilibrium of the temperature which is expected to be maintained. And the climate change is on account of the global warming, result of global warming, we can say. What will happen if global warming has not been properly addressed? If the global warming is not properly addressed, there is a possibility of 10 possibilities have been visualized on account of the same. They are increase in temperature, drought, unreasonable rain, rise in the sea level. On account of the rain, flood, and on account of the drought, there is a possibility of food deficit. And if there is climate change, it may affect the flora and fauna and thereby loss of species. It will create health problem and poverty and displacement in the human life. How it happens? See, global warming is happening on account of emission of greenhouse gases, namely the carbon dioxide, nitrogen oxide, and methane. It naturally in the atmosphere itself, these gases are available, but there is a ratio maintained by the nature itself for the purpose of protection of the atmosphere, creating a ozone layer. The purpose of ozone layer is to absorb the heat from the sun and also reduce the radiation that is being caused on account of the heat generated from the sun. What will happen if there is increase in the greenhouse gas, emission of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere? It will have impact on the depletion in the ozone layer, thereby there will be loss of equilibrium in maintaining the absorption and emission of the heat and radiation of the sun. Thereby, there is climate change occurs. There is increase in the temperature. Once there is an increase in the temperature, automatically the water level in the existing water bodies will be reduced, and thereby there is possibility of drought. In some places, because of the increase in the underground temperature, because normally the emission comes from the ozone layer, goes to the earth. Most part of the radiation and the heat is being absorbed from the earth, absorbed by the earth, and it maintains in equilibrium. But on account of the change in the climate and increase in the temperature in the atmosphere, this will create an imbalance. Underground heat will be increased. On account of the underground heat being increased, there is a possibility of the ice sheets being melted. Thereby, huge quantity of water will be created, and that will become a part of the ocean and thereby raise the water level in the sea. Once the water level in the sea is increased, there is a possibility of submergence of the certain areas. Thereby, there is a flood, there is huge calamities likely to happen. There will be change in the periods of the climate cycle as well, because if there is a rise in the temperature, there is no possibility of the cycle being maintained properly as being done by the Mother Earth. The water that has been absorbed, because as we are aware from our school days, how rain happens. Because the rain, because of the heat, the water is being absorbed and it becomes a water vapor. It goes to the sky, it forms a cloud, and when the cloud hit against each other, there is a rain comes, or there is an obstruction to the water saved clouds, then rain falls. there is a mechanism that is being maintained by Mother Earth or nature itself as to how the quantity of rain will be controlled by giving rain to the planet. But when over absorption of water occurs, clouds also will have more water. When clouds have more water, what will happen? It is not going to happen a rain, it will become a cloud burst. So nowadays you will be seeing that the rain comes, within an hour, rain stops. But the water quantity that has been collected on account of the rain is much more than the water quantity which were getting in earlier days. Thereby, what happens is flood occurs. When flood occurs, there is a possibility of affecting the life of the people, the loss of property, all these things will happen. And not only that, this is likely to affect the food chain as well, because the production of food is also will be reduced, because when rain comes in an unpredictable manner, an unexpected time, not in the usual time, and if there is change in the climate, winter changes, there is no winter, winter becomes hot. If such things happens in the atmosphere, what will happen? The food chain also, for the food production will be reduced. Once the food production is reduced, it is likely to cause reduction in the food quantity. Thereby, people may not be able to get the required food for their livelihood as well. Further, when water bodies are being encroached, the water that has been collected is not being able to reach the water bodies. That also causes flood in the low-lying area, affecting the life of the people. So all these things will go to show that there is a necessity for protection of environment. Not only that, see, once a drought comes, the rain is not properly, the quantity of rain is not properly obtained. There is a possibility of scarcity of water. When the heat, the underground heat is increased, heat waves are created underneath, then there is a possibility of depletion of groundwater, thereby availability of fresh water will be affected. The study that has been conducted by UN, climate change, had informed the world that by 2050 there is possibility of paucity of water, and thereby you may not be able to get water for drinking itself. So it is high time for you to conserve and preserve water, and it is high time for the people to protect environment, and they must understand the responsibility to protect environment as well. That is how the conference on climate change have taken a lot of resolutions to protect environment. First of such thing was happened in 1972 in Stockholm, and they have mentioned that environment is part of life, and for having a decent life and the safety life, environment will not be protected. So they linked that with the human right. At the same time, they were also aware of the fact that there is necessity for development as well. So the first generation, second generation, third generation aspects have been considered by them, And in the third generation, they have thought about the safety of the people, protection of environment, and the link between the development and the environment, protection of environment. That is how they evolved a policy that there must be a sustainable development, vice versa, protection of environment, that must go together for the purpose of economic development of the people as well. Why the global warming happens? Why the climate change happens? That is because the emission of greenhouse gases in large quantity to the atmosphere. How these things are happening? These are happening on account of emission from the vehicles, emission from the industrial belt, industrial activities, dust that has been created, and also on account of over emission of carbon dioxide by several activities. So in order to avoid that, they thought that it is necessary to maintain the carbon footprint. And the sequestration of carbon is also required so as to maintain the balance to protect the environment. The principle 2 of the guidelines issued as a protocol in 1972 convention says that the natural resources of the earth, including air, water, land, flora and fauna, and especially the representative samples of natural ecosystem, must be safeguarded for the benefit of the present and future generation through careful planning or management as appropriate. Principle 4 of the said declaration says, man has a special responsibility to safeguard and wisely manage the heritage of wildlife and its habitat, which are now gravely imperiled by a combination of adverse factors. Nature conservation, including wildlife, must therefore receive importance in planning for economic development. Principle 8 says, economic and social development is essential for ensuring a favorable living and working environment for man and for creating conditions on earth that are necessary for improvement of quality of life. In 1992, the Rio Convention, Principle 1 says, human beings are at the center of concern for sustainable development. They are entitled to a healthy and productive life in harmony with nature. Principle 10 says, environmental issues are best handled with the participation of all concerned citizens at the relevant level. At the material level, each individual shall have appropriate access to information concerning the environment that is held by public authorities, including information on hazardous materials and activities in their committees, and the opportunity to participate in decision-making process. States shall facilitate and encourage public awareness and participation by making information widely available. Effective access to judicial and administrative proceedings, including redress and remedy, shall be provided. Based on this, in 1976, Constitution was amended by 42nd Amendment by incorporating Article 48A to the Constitution under Part 4A. which says protection and improvement of environment and safeguarding the forest and wildlife. The state shall endure to protect and improve the environment and to safeguard the forest and wildlife of the country. For the first time, the fundamental duties were incorporated under the Constitution by this 42nd Amendment. By incorporating Article 51 capital A, and small g says, it shall be the duty of every citizen of India to protect and improve the natural environment, including forest, lakes, rivers, wildlife, and to have compassion for living creatures. It is on that basis the Water Act, Air Act, Environment Protection Act, and so many acts and the rules thereunder incorporating the power under the Environment Protection Act was also passed by the legislature. Taking into account that those rules are required for the purpose of maintaining environment, and authorities were also created for the purpose of maintaining this aspect. But whether that alone will be sufficient for this purpose. Further, you would have read the newspaper reports on COP 26, 27, and 28 regarding the Conference of Parties on Climate Change by the developing countries, because the main reason for causing global warming is due to the emission of the greenhouse gases by the developed countries on account of their development created by industrialization, afforestation, deforestation, and over exploitation of the natural resources. And that has had impact on the other countries, developing countries. So they decided that there must be an agreement for creating a loss and damage fund, and contribution must be given by the developed countries which are responsible for such depletion in the ozone layer, reason for the global warming, and thereby that amount will not be utilized as a fund to raise the financial capacity of the developing countries to redress the grievance of the impact of such global warming on the developing countries. But how far we are going to achieve in that is yet to be seen. But being a party to the convention and signatory to the covenants, India has got their own responsibility, and one of the resolution that has been taken is to reduce emission of greenhouse gases. They said that could be possible by shifting the use of fossil fuel like coal, oil, and natural gas to renewable energy sources. Thereby, the quantum of emission of greenhouse gases can be controlled on account of the same. So, first of all, there is a duty cast on the government to evolve policies regarding the implementation of clean and green energy, green and clean fuels for the purpose of reduction in the emission of greenhouse gases. So that could be possible by utilizing the natural resources which are abundantly available in the planet. Namely, using solar, that is sunlight, you can create solar energy. By using wind, you can create electrical energy from wind. By hydro projects, you can create electricity. Now, atomic energy is also being, nuclear energy is also being contemplated for the purpose of creating energy, electricity, power. Thereby, if these energies are being substituted for fossil fuels, there is possibility of reduction in the emission of greenhouse gases. Thereby, global warming can be to some extent addressed. In all these conventions, they have taken a decision that in order to sustain the environment, in order to protect the environment, in order to protect the life of the people against the impact of global warming, at least 1.5%, 5 degrees Celsius of the temperature will not be reduced by 2070. If it is not gradually reduced to that extent, the possibility of increase in the temperature also cannot be ruled out. Thereby, the deterioration that is likely to be caused for the environment and impact on the human beings and also the other living creatures, all flora and fauna, will be increased. Once that is increased, the calamities that is likely to cause will be more. So it is for the government to evolve policies on these aspects and find out methods as to how this can be implemented effectively on the grassroots level, for which they will have the authorities and they will have the way forwards, and that will have to be implemented in its stricter sense. You cannot avoid development because as the population increases, because one of the reasons for global warming is increase in the population. Once the population increases, the need also increases. Need for accommodation, need for agriculture, need for production of employment, all these will also increase. Thereby, you are going for deforestation and reducing the green cover. Once you reduce that green cover, you know very well the role played by the plants. They are absorbing the carbon dioxide and emitting oxygen. Photosynthesis is being caused. Thereby, you are getting clean air. Right to get clean air is part of right to life, as mentioned in Article 21 of the Constitution of India. Because why I am saying this is, Article 48A, though there was a responsibility on the government to protect the environment, it is not coming under the chapter fundamental rights, but it comes under the chapter principles of direct principles of policies, which cannot be enforced through court. It is only an advisory thing given to the government by the Constitution. What are the responsibilities which they allow to do for the purpose of protection of the people? But while interpreting the provisions and also understanding the importance of the necessity for protection of environment, which has been considered as part of right to life, because get to clean air, get to clean water, get a clean environment are all necessary for your decent right to life. Right to life is controlled under Article 21 of the Constitution of India, which is a fundamental right. So Supreme Court, while interpreting Section 21, Article 21 of the Constitution of India, enlarged the scope of the fundamental duties as well as the directive principles of policy in respect of protection of environment as part of right to life, thereby made it enforceable through the state authorities. I don't want to give the decisions on those aspects because almost all decisions dealing with the environment, even in the Delhi pollution case now being going on in the High Court as well as Supreme Court, High Court as well as the National Green Tribunal. Everywhere Article 41, 48A and 51G were being repeated, and the responsibility of the citizen as well as the government are being exposed, thereby reminding the government to create policies for the purpose of protection of environment. So the policy making is necessary. Not only policy making, implementation of the policy making through its regulators also is necessary for that purpose. That can be possible only if the state has taken a role in protecting environment. They will have to evolve policies for shifting the energy process from fossil energy to fossil fuel to renewable energy. See, on that basis, number of policies have been evolved by the central government. Even recently also they have passed Energy Conservation Act, and that was amended in that was passed in 2001, amended in 2022. Thereby, they have decided that there must be a responsibility on the citizens also to use renewable energy for meeting their purposes. Thereby, they have made energy in NCBC, in Energy Conservation Building Code. Whenever you are making constructions of residential complexes, you will have to have your own resources for the purpose of meeting the energy required for your purposes. You will have to use the solar energy for that purpose. If wherever wind energy is possible, you can do that. Electricity can be used for that purpose instead of fossil fuels. So thereby there was a restriction cost or responsibility imposed for using renewable energy, that we can call it as green and clean energy, for the purpose of meeting your power supplies which are required for your day-to-day life. So thereby the government is equally responsible to make policies, make schemes, and make available those schemes to be implemented through the authorities by its subject, that is namely the citizens. So, and they must also create an awareness among the people regarding the impact of global warming and the necessity for their contribution for protection of environment against this global warming. So thereby the awareness programs will have to be conducted by them regarding the necessity for shift of energy from fossil energy to renewable energy. That is one method by which you can reduce, because all industrial area vehicles, now you are going for e-vehicles, and the green mass, the green gas that is being created for the purpose of getting the vehicle being operated on account of the same, because all these things are likely to reduce the emission level, but we do not know how far it is scientific, how far it is, whether it is having full proof. So all the things will be has to be taken into consideration in later stages when such challenges are being imposed. Further, it is also evolved as a policy that because of the change of lifestyle in the people, that has caused these aspects. So you will have to go back to your original position, original lifestyle, food habits, protection of environment, protection of nature, live with nature. You will have to learn how to live with nature. Certain things which will be possible for us to reduce these aspects are waste management. Waste management is a globally challengeable one because of the accumulation of waste. It is being causing enormous pollution. When pollution is caused to the atmosphere, automatically everything will be affected. That is what is happening. So, what you are expected to do as a citizen is the main thing which we will have to consider, because government creating policies, implementation of policies by the government, how it has been regulated, etc., are all on the state, the domain of the state. It is for the state to do all those things. But they must have a policy, they must have a mechanism to implement those things in an effective manner so as to honor their commitment of the being a signatory to the conventions on climate change. When it comes to the citizen aspect is concerned, waste management is one. Segregation of waste will not be done in a proper way. Reduce, reuse, and recycle. This is the mantra that will have to be taken note of by the public as their responsibility for protection of environment. Reduce means reduce the quantity of waste. How will you reduce it? Food waste. Use food only for the purpose of your user, don't waste. Once you adopt not to waste the food, then food waste is reduced. Once the food waste is reduced, the disposal of the food waste, the problem of disposal of food waste is also reduced. Avoid certain things which are likely to cause pollution. Single-use plastic. You can have the materials which are reusable in nature. For example, when you are going to a shop, instead of carrying a plastic bag or single-use plastic bag, use and throw method, avoid that. Reusable mechanism will have to be practiced by people. Thereby, they can reduce the generation of waste. Once the generation of waste is reduced, automatically the disposal of waste is also reduced. The responsibility of disposal of the waste by the authorities will also be reduced, thereby causing pollution is reduced. Recycling the waste. The possibility of recycle the waste from one form to other and reuse it again, bring it to the user mechanism. That is one method by which you can reduce waste of materials. Once you are reducing the waste of materials, you are indirectly contributing for protection of environment, because once you are creating paper is required for the purpose of writing another thing. Once it is recycled, again put it to use in a different form, then number of trees that is likely to be cut for the purpose of making paper is reduced, thereby you are saving the trees. quantity of water that is required for the purpose of manufacturing of these things, you are reducing that. Thereby, the quantity of water will be available for better use. That is known as conservation, preservation, and protection of water sources. Use minimum amount of water required for your purpose. See, nowadays, earlier we were having a bucket, a cup will be there, you will open the tap, water will be collected in the bucket, use the mug and take bath. In all purposes you are washing, everything will be done on that. With a limited quantity of water in the bucket, you will be able to do so many things. And that water will be used for agriculture or doing gardening, etc. Without knowing the process of treatment and recycling of the water, reuse of the wastewater. Without knowing the impact or the scientific impact of those things in olden days, it is embedded in them and they were doing it automatically, protecting environment with all their sincerity. So you will have to go back to the original position. Don't waste water. Don't open the shower and stand there for hours. Enjoy a dance, nothing. You reduce the quantum of water that is required. And don't you open the tap. Allow the water to flow while you are brushing or while shaving. Because water will be going, you will be shaving only. But when water is required, only when you are washing your mouth and other thing. Till then, why should the water be wasted? Think about that. This is a small thing that can be done by every citizen to save the usage of water. Then another thing is avoid discharge of untreated sewage into the drains. Thereby it automatically reaches the water bodies and that is likely to be polluted. The same water you are using, maybe some treatment, so-called treatment, I can only say that it will not be as clear as we were using it in the earlier days without pollution. Olden days, people were using the water from the river even without warming it up. They are straight away taking it and drinking it without any difficulty, never caused any disease for them. Can it be anticipated now? Will it be possible for us to do that? Because you are likely to be born with the waterborne diseases because of the bacterial impact of the waste that is being generated and injected into the water bodies by our own activities. So you will have to see that the untreated sewage is not being let into the water body. And it is a responsibility of the government to see that underground sewages, because it is not possible to have sock pits as in the case of olden days because you have got a larger area. Now people are constructing small houses in small plots, or in the small plots, skyscrapers are coming up. When skyscrapers are coming up, there is a restriction that they will not have their own treatment plant and recycle the water for their purpose. But in the small houses, the difficulty will be, they will not be possible for them to have the water sources as well as the disposal method of wastewater. So it is always better for the government to have common drainage system, sewage treatment system, thereby collect the sewage generated from the houses through the drain channel and take it to the water treatment plant, sewage treatment plant, and get it treated there to a standard that has been prescribed under the statutes and the rules, and reuse that water for other purposes other than drinking and cooking. Because you can use it for washing, you can use it for flushing, You can use it for gardening. All those purposes, this water can be used. Certain extent of water, treated water, can be let into the water bodies. Thereby, E-flow can be maintained in the water body. Once the E-flow is maintained, the possibility of maintaining the biological oxygen level in the water can be maintained. Once that is maintained, the aqua life can be protected. Otherwise, it is likely to have impact on the aqua life. It is same thing will happen in the case of marine also. Once the ocean is polluted, the marine products will be affected. Marine life will be affected. Once the marine life is affected, the persons who are depending on their livelihood using the marine products will be affected. So wherever it is possible, avoid disposal of waste in public places, disposal of waste in the water bodies, discharge of untreated sewage or your fecal matters into the water bodies, thereby affecting the quality of the water and also thereby having impact on the health of the people. So thereby you can have conservation system, preservative system, protective system, and you can have rain harvesting system. Rainwater harvesting system is one of the methods by which a huge quantity of water that is being collected in the due to the rain can be collected in a particular scientific method, and it can be discharged into the ground itself. Once so much of water is being absorbed by the ground, the groundwater level will be increased. Because on account of the global warming, there is a possibility of depletion in the groundwater level. On account of the depletion of the groundwater level, fresh water will not be available. Because of the flood, the dry climate, the surface water is also will not be available. In order to maintain the surface water, you can have the recycled water being let into the water bodies to maintain E-flow. By percolating the water that is being collected during rainy season, by utilizing the rainwater harvesting system, you can increase the groundwater recharge, and that groundwater recharge is helpful for the purpose of producing more fresh water that will be available for the people. Similarly, you will have to avoid encroachment into the water bodies. Once you encroach into the water bodies, the water collection area is being reduced. Once the water collection area is being reduced, there is a possibility of flood. The water bodies like lakes and ponds are intended not only to collect water for use for agricultural purpose alone, they are also acting as reservoirs of water for encouraging percolation of water into the ground. Thereby, it will act as a water recharge system in a natural manner. Thereby, you will be getting water throughout the year in that area. It will not be drained. So, you will have to create as many as possible water ponds, and you will have to restore the water bodies which were already in existence and maintain the same. Thereby, you are contributing to the nature for collection of water as a preservation and conservation method, and thereby the water is being protected against waste. You are minimizing the wastage of water available, thereby that can be used by you in future as well. similarly, you can also go for renewable energy in your houses. Solar energy can be possible because now the schemes are coming up by the government. Those who are using the solar system, the energy can be purchased by the department, that will be given credit to you. Thereby, you are reducing your electricity charges. There, you are producing, you are become a producer of energy as well for your own purposes, and also contribute to the department for use of others as well. So as far as possible, create awareness among the people to have renewable energy from natural resources for their purposes as well. So when these things are all possible, and when we are able to reduce the waste, if you are able to shift from the other fossil energy to the natural energy, renewable energy, clean or green energy, possibility of emission of greenhouse gases can be reduced. Thereby, there is a possibility of reduction in the global warming. All those things can be possible only by making awareness among the people. You will have to make involvement of the people in these activities. You must make them understand the responsibility of these things as well. See, that is the reason why we are celebrating, because even the COP 27, 28 also they said the number of days that you will have to celebrate: Finance Day, Mother Earth Day, Environment Day, Biological Diversity Day. All these things will be helpful for the purpose of creating awareness among the people about their responsibility and how far they can contribute for the purpose of protection of environment. Once all this can be practically implemented, if you have taken an oath that I will do something for protection of environment, that determination in you itself will be sufficient. That motivation in you will be sufficient for the purpose of contributing from your side for protection of environment that is required in the time for avoid the impacts of global warming on the human life. So I feel that I have generally covered all these aspects. Your responsibility to do that. It is for us to take an oath that we will also contribute for ourselves. We will not point against the government to do certain things which you are expected to do. Once you can do that, we can ask the government to do what they want to do it. If you are not able to do yourself, and if you are failing in your responsibility in protecting environment, then asking the government alone to do that will be of no avail. So it is for us to work along with the government to see that the effects of government, effect that has been taken by the government for the purpose of protecting the Mother Earth from the global warming is in your hands. So the lawyer community has to come forward to conduct as many awareness programs as possible, because environmental awareness is not available for the people. You will have to go back to the original lifestyle. You will have to change the lifestyle and synchronize your lifestyle with nature. Learn how to live with nature. That is a contribution that you are going to give, that you are going to make for the purpose of protection environment. Thank you very much for patiently hearing these aspects. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'm just reminded that what, as a student, we used to say, do not ask what the country has done for you, but ask what you are doing for the country. Similarly, you have hammered the point in the right perspective. We day in and day out see that people criticizing the government, but they do not appreciate the fact that both have to work in tandem, and we have to see and ensure that things happen in the right way. And we are so happy that you have been able to share your knowledge in such a short span. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe, stay blessed. Namaskar.
Thank you.